Miriam, welcome to Your Social Chef Show. We have several important topics we plan to talk about today. Before we do that, I'm going to introduce you to our audience. Miriam, welcome to Your Social Chef Show. We had some feedback, so that's all good. Miriam is the founder of Maralytics, a brand new software program for hospitality businesses, and the author of Boost Your Marketing ROI book. The software and the book assist business owners to save money and get better performance results from their marketing activities. So Miriam, let's get started with question one. Why do restaurants need to do marketing from the first place?
Thanks, Mark. It's great to be here. So why restaurants need to do marketing is to actually reach their customers. So it's a way of getting connected to customers and letting them know what you offer. You know, what is special about your restaurant? What is it? You know, what are your specials? What is your cuisine? And it's also reminding them of you're still here. You know, you're still in business, which is really important in these times of COVID and uncertainty that we're going through. Is we don't know which, you know, as a customer or as an everyday person, we don't know who's still around and who's not. A lot of people want to help support their community and get out there. And if the customers don't know what's going on, we can't support, we can't get out there. And marketing is a way that we reach our customers.
That's right. So confirming what you just said, people die, people move in, people move out, people have life-changing situations, people get unemployed, they change their diet, they might get sick, they might get divorced, they get married, like there's a ton of reasons.
Lots of life happens.
Yes. So
yeah, it's actual life happens.
Yes. And that's why you need to make sure that your restaurant is always on top of mind of all those people, regardless how their situations change. You might be right there at the right moment, and then bang, you might make that sale. And that's cool. Then we spoke about why do we need to do marketing, and I think most people understand that. And if they don't, they should by now. Then all right, we've started. We activated marketing, we've started doing stuff. So how do we track that marketing? How do we track it? What kind of strategies you could share with us today?
So I came from, initially I was in the travel industry. So this is back in the 90s in pretty much the heyday. And back then I learned to track my results. If I sold certain airline tickets, if I sold certain car hires, I would get rewarded. So I would get rewarded with a free ticket or a free holiday or a free tour. So I was pretty much trained by industry and being in corporate that, you sell things and you track the results, you actually get rewarded. So when I went into the restaurant industry, so I owned restaurants for quite some time, I use those same strategies of, if we do some marketing, I want to know, where are my customers coming from? Are they coming from a newspaper? Are they coming from, we had supermarket dockets back in those days. This is back in probably the mid 2000s, to probably the last 5 years. So social media has changed the whole marketing scene now. But I had more of that traditional marketing. So, and it's tangible, and we still need those as a restaurant or as a business, is having that combination of digital and traditional, of that tangible thing of being in a bus stop or being not everyone's on social media, but a lot of us are as well. So having those results, like I wanted to know, where were my customers coming from. So back when I had the restaurants, I would have a coupon, so it would be a buy one get one free, and we would actually attach those to a receipt. So I could count them up at the end of the day going, yep, we had 10 people came from the supermarket and 20 people came from the newspaper, and then calculate the sales, put them into a spreadsheet, put them into another spreadsheet, so I could actually have some sort of results. Now, this was quite fraught with human error because we had calculations, things were missed. But I still got a good idea on what my results were. So I knew that the supermarket campaigns at that time brought in about 500 to 600 customers per month, and around about 5,000 to 6,000, which was quite good when our average sale was about $7.50 for a coffee order. So yeah, it was really good because I could track with our loyalty cards. I could do the email newsletters. I did competitions. So I could track all sorts of activities because I had something attached to it. If you have a business that doesn't, so it was a purchase strategy. So I find if you don't have that, you can always ask customers, how do they, how do they find you? That's the other alternative, and just keeping a record of that. So
that's
yeah,
right.
that's how I did it before.
And people can always, track their point of sale reports, and then they try to kind of match it with their current advertising. They could also match their online ordering or online bookings reports with their current advertising if there are spikes and things like that. And they know, oh, I'm running this ad, and all of a sudden I got that spike. Like, no brainer. They also
it's much easier to identify it with something. So if you had a dessert offer or a bottle of wine offer, that makes it much easier to match it up as well.
That's right. Even if they come up with like let's say a chef special and not necessarily an offer, but that was pushed and promoted on those platforms, and then they can see, oh wow, this they could promote one special and leave the others like kind of silent and just promoted in-house. Then they can tell which one had a spike, and they can tell if the advertising has worked for it or not, and then document what worked, what didn't work, so they know what kind of stuff works for in the future. Very cool. I love that topic. And then we move from here all the way to now that we know how to track our marketing, we know why marketing is important, but what are some of the marketing campaigns a restaurant could activate and track today?
Okay, in today, the easiest thing is loyalty. So loyalty programs, knowing who your customers are and how often they're coming in and rewarding them. So loyalty is one of the first things that you could do. Facebook advertising and social media advertising, like what you do, Mark, is another thing that's very easy. It's cost effective, and you can see the results instantly. It's not like, and we can target who which customers we're looking for. Facebook and those kind of online companies are so different to what we had 15 years ago with a newspaper where you go, there's 110,000 distribution, whereas Facebook now you can go, I want men between the ages of 18 and 25, and they live in this particular area, and they spend this much money, and they like these kind of things. You can actually really nail down who your customers are now and get a message directly to those people. And that's the beautiful thing now of what we can do with social media advertising. Other things like promotions, your Valentine's Day, or I think where are we now? We've got Father's Day coming up in September. We've got Halloween coming up. These are promotions that you can advise, let your customers know and let your community know, I'm doing something special for these particular days. And videos are another really good way of promoting business. So I'm saying, this is what's going on. We're making this gin cocktail. We've got this fantastic cocktail of the month, or how we make this beautiful meal. These are ways that we can promote the business. So very, very popular with videos. Third-party apps are another really popular way. What I would be looking with the third-party apps, like your AI menus and delivery apps like Uber Eats and DoorDash, which is really coming up on now, is utilizing those platforms. They're spending a lot of money with promoting, especially Uber Eats now. They've got the Wiggles. I've seen their latest series of commercials. Utilize those platforms and try and convert those customers that use that platform to your own, so that they become on your own email database and you approach them. So don't just have that they constantly, let those customers know that you would prefer them coming directly to you. So, but use their services, you're paying for it, and it's a good way to onboard them as your own customer then for, not a lot of cost.
I mean, I gotta agree with you. even when we speak to a third party, a lot of business owners or restaurant owners, they do have that understanding. If someone is ordering from a third party app, it's not good for them, and they feel like they're the victim and so on. I mean, I completely understand and feel for when they feel like they are in that situation. But then if we look at the big boys like McDonald's and Domino's and so on, these people that have billions of dollars to invest in their marketing and advertising to push people to order direct from them and not having to be on those third-party apps. But guess what? They are on those third-party apps. One is because they understand people buy based on different situations. They also know that their marketing and branding counts on two main things in the advertising and the marketing world, and they are mental availability and physical availability. So if you are not on top of the customer mind, you're out of the picture. If you're not physically available, and physically doesn't mean like something that I can touch and feel, but physically now it's all digital and physical. So if someone is not on the third party app, then all of a sudden you got someone to try someone else's food and they might like it, and all of a sudden they might get used to go and dine in person at that restaurant or at that place, because all of a sudden they were on Uber Eats, you weren't. And that's one thing. And the other thing is the whole reason they enter those third-party apps, it's because they're opening up for new markets. So and it's instead of opening up a new location or a pop-up which could cost thousands of dollars, all of a sudden you could just turn on an app and you've opened up a new market. So I look, this is we could talk about this for days and days. But let's move on.
I think coming down to the third-party apps is you need to look, an owner needs to look at it as a marketing strategy, right? That's really where it needs to come in. And that's where spending that money comes out of your marketing budget, not out of, your operational budget. And it's how you look at it. So I think a lot of people think, oh my God, I'm spending 30% or however what percentage is. And it's like, that money is just, I'm losing that money. And it's rather than looking at, it is a marketing strategy. It is a way to reach new customers. And if you look at it in that way, you can then convert them over to that. You never had access to those customers before.
That's right.
And that's the way to look at it with those.
And if you're a national brand, you're probably more likely not to increase your prices on the third-party apps. But if you're a small place, most places today, they're increasing their prices on the system, so it is somehow profitable, and they're doing that. So why can't you do that and say, you know what, we've opened up to a new market. Some of those people, they will never come and dine in here. Let's work out a way that becomes profitable for us. And to be honest, you know what, I don't care how many apps, how much money you spend on your own apps, how much money you spend on your own marketing, you will never convert 100% of those audiences to come over to you. It's not going to happen.
People. You've got the brand alliance, right? So you're aligning with an Uber Eats or a DoorDash. They're a big platform. They've got their own brand, and to be connected with those shows that you have met that standard, because they wouldn't have people, businesses that don't meet a certain standard. So, it already creates trust in the consumer's, mind of going, well, if they're on that platform, they must be good.
That's right. So, and at the end of the day, it comes down to ultra convenience. It's a marketplace. People, every time they feel like something, they open up that magic app and they order what they feel like today. But if they download your app, you only have just one cuisine, one thing, and there's not much they can do on there other than ordering your food. So look, I'm pretty sure this topic has been spoken about and discussed in so many different ways, but it's still important to talk about that today, because you never know. Some people still don't get why they should be on those third-party apps. Well, let's move on to the fourth question. Is what platforms a restaurant could use to activate marketing campaigns? Now we were speaking about Uber Eats, but
Yeah.
what other platforms we could do marketing campaigns on?
So platforms, or so the latest trends, as I just mentioned, were that the AI menus and the third party. So your DoorDash, I'm mentioning that because I think they were a sponsor of the National Restaurant Conference in Melbourne, which has been postponed now. So they're a new player in the market. Uber Eats, those ones. But AI menus, that's become, I'm here from the Gold Coast, so that's something that's really having a big effect here on our local restaurants. Is when you go out, it's like, oh, you order everything online. There's a, so that's one of our latest trends here on the Goldie is, all these menus that are you just order from the table. You don't even have to deal with the waitress or the salesperson or the point of sale. You just order straight from your phone. So that's something that's really, I think, as if I had a restaurant right now, that would be something I would be integrating into my business practices, is having, any way just to be able to meet the market and
that's right.
Make it easier for them to purchase.
And what other platforms? Like I'm also thinking, like with a little bit of creativity or with a little bit of thought process, you can even open up your Facebook advertising and run a campaign on that. Instagram, email, SMS.
Facebook and Instagram is probably one of the more hotter platforms right now because it's visual, so you can see what your food looks like. You can see how you can put a video and see how a cocktail is being made. Another really good platform is Google My Business. So this is something that I do see a lot of, that people don't actually claim their Google My Business. That is linked to your reviews. That's linked to your Google Maps. You can put events on Google My Business. Say, you've got this, a party, you might have a special event for your Father's Day, or and that's linked to Google. So, and that then goes into your Google advertising. So Google My Business, I find, is definitely an underrated platform that should be used a lot more by a lot of businesses. And it's really sad to see that they're not taking advantage of, if I see a business that's got, 55 reviews or 180 reviews, I'm going to use that. I'm going to go there because there's people that have got, a lot of positive reviews there. And if there's ones that have 0 or a lot of negative reviews, then it's like, well, okay, how has that business dealt with those negative reviews? We always have a lot of scammers around. It happens in any industry. And I see a lot on the channel chats, like the social media chats, about, negative responses. But a genuine customer will, if there's a hair in a food, or if there's things that happen, life happens, but it's how you deal with the situation. And in hospitality, especially, we're used to dealing with customer complaints. So I think it's one of the things that most businesses excel at, is customer service. That's what hospitality is about. And it comes down to your social media, your reviews, your Google My Business reviews, on how you respond. It's just another version. It's an online version, but that's the things that are left behind. When you've got a real life situation, people are just left with a feeling, but you know what? Your Google review will be there 6 months, 12 months later. And I think that's a really important platform for people, for business owners to take advantage of. And it's free. Right. It's free. So
no brainer. Google My Business is obviously it is on Google, and most research this decision gets done on Google, moving on from Google all the way to your socials to, get in-depth research about your place before making a final decision if they should book at that place or not. Very, very important, to have your Google listing optimized. Most people don't even have it claimed.
Yeah.
So highly suggest get your Google My Listing claimed, optimize it, fix it. Very, very important.
And that comes also, sorry to interrupt, that also comes to places like TripAdvisor and Australian Good Food Guide. Is those, again, are like another version of an Uber Eats, but people go to those platforms to see what, there are reviews on there. So claiming those ones, again, are free to make sure your business is, have you got your right logo in there? Is your business represented correctly? Again, these are all free strategies that don't take long. And if a business owner can't do it, get someone that can do it, it's a little bit savvy, but they're not hard to do.
And if you're, look, you've spoken about TripAdvisor. If you are in a tourist spot, 100%, you need to make sure TripAdvisor is fully optimized at all times, along with your Google listing, because that's where tourists find you first. Then they move on to your website and socials. Locals, more likely they'll find you on social or Google. But if you're in a tourist spot, 1000% focus on TripAdvisor, Google. SEO is super important if you're in a tourist spot.
Well, especially because I'm here on the Gold Coast, so I live in Broadbeach, and I go a lot to surfers. I was working in surfers for a long time as well, so it is a strategy here. We are a tourist destination, and it's something that is utilised by the restaurants that have been around. Those ones, TripAdvisor is a major opportunity for them, because that's how people are looking. I mean, we could do geo-targeting, but that gets a bit more in depth, right? TripAdvisor is one of those straightforward, simple platforms to use. Just to make sure your business is represented correctly, is the right logo there? Have you got the right details on there, the right address, the right phone number? Really simple strategies like that don't take long. And it all comes
food images, interior images, exterior.
How do you want to brand and showcase your business? So those to me are strategies that are really important for a business to do.
That's right. See, what a wonderful topic. We are forever students, even though that we're talking about stuff today, we've done a ton of things in the past, but we are forever students. There's a lot to learn, and I don't think we will learn enough any time. Doesn't matter how old we get.
I think business is evolving, and marketing especially has taken a lot of shifts in the last 10-15 years, especially with digital marketing. We've got how businesses, when I first had my restaurants 10-15 years ago, there wasn't a lot. It was traditional only, so you had the yellow pages and the newspapers. There wasn't a lot, and it was really hard work to know what worked, whereas now we have this whole digital landscape, and it's completely different, but we need to take advantage of it, because everyone's got a mobile phone. We all have these little devices and iPads and all the rest of it. Everything's moving online, but it becomes more streamlined as well. So
that's right.
We just need to. It's about taking more responsibility as an owner and going, okay, I'm in charge of my business, and what do I want people to see me as?
That's right. Well, moving on to question number 5. What, I know that you have a history with restaurants and the hospitality, and moving on from that history, what did you end up doing? What did you end up having after having restaurants? What was your direction from there?
So when I had the restaurants, I was introduced to a lady, or I met a lady at one time, and she introduced me into a lot of apprenticeships and traineeships. So that actually started to change my career afterwards. So when that's something that is a really important way for restaurants is, apprentices, there's not enough coming through the system, but there's also school-based traineeships. So that was a structure that I had that helped me with my wages. It helped keep the longevity of a staff member. So, instead of having someone for 3 to 6 months, most of mine were young, year 11, year 12s, the young people, they'd stay with me for 2 to 3 years. So it was really great for the continuity and consistency of the business to have, traineeships. A lot of them went into management traineeships. So this was something that I found that I then naturally moved after I left the restaurant industry, is I went into training. So started off with hospitality training, then went into management training. And as I went into developing software, I went into project management, which was a bit different there. So I've been training for the last few years, probably about 5, 6, 7 years now. Leadership and management and hospitality were my main ones. So especially now I keep coming back to leadership and management, which was my strength as a restaurant owner. So hospitality is part of leadership, managing a restaurant is part of leadership management, how you train your team, how you manage the business. So I learned a lot from having restaurants, and then now I'm actually more of an industry. I became an industry trainer.
Ton of experience.
Yeah. So the experience in the restaurants helped me become a really good teacher and getting those really good skills. Like my son just got a job in a bar like yesterday, and I'm going to be teaching him about, well, what are all the different alcohols and what does it look like, and how, how to behave behind that, because they're all life skills. They're all tangible skills that, how you treat an angry customer or how you deal with an awkward teammate, these are all skills that are taught in the vocational training. So
very
yeah,
cool. And then
that's where I went to.
and then you moved from that having ton of experience with in this industry, to creating your own software. Can we talk about that?
Yeah. So when I had the restaurants, as we discussed earlier, I did a lot of marketing and I tracked them all. So I learned that, that. So I really wanted to know, well, I wanted at the time, so this is about a bit over 10 years ago, I thought this could be automated. It's an Excel spreadsheet. Surely somebody is doing it. And no, my point of sale guy said, yeah, not a chance. And then as I was in the training industry, I was going out to a lot of restaurants and I saw the development of the apps. We've got our mobile phones and iPads. So point of sales have now become cloud-based. So we have ones like Lightspeed by Counter, Square, and I was talking to a lot of developers of these, platforms, and I'm going, can we do something like this? And they're going, yeah, absolutely. So I then moved into, over the last 5 years, I'm working with app developers and building a software program to track, I wanted to be able to track these results automatically. I've been in the restaurants, it's got to be a one-step process. You can't have, you've got 10 steps to do while you're dealing with a customer. And if people are busy, it can't be, it's got to be fast and easy. So it's taken a long time. And that's where, as well, when I was training, I moved into project management, because developing software really comes under the alignment of project management. So whatever I was doing with software, then I was teaching at the same time.
Okay.
So I delved in about a year and a half ago, and now bringing the software to market.
It's ready to go.
Now it's ready to go.
Yeah. What does it do? Tell us.
So what it does is it tracks and reports on marketing activity. So one part of it can automatically track. So you can, when you're doing the sale with a customer and they're coming through a Facebook campaign, you would just add a reference code to the transaction. And the platform itself does a lot of reporting activity. So you can compare different campaigns, you can compare different time lengths, you can compare average sales, profit, sales, amount of customers. It's a management tool where you can go and manage every single type of marketing activity.
Very cool. Can you maybe like play out a scenario, one scenario that we could use that platform?
So let's say if we did a Facebook ad, like you yourself, Mark, with your social chef, we did a Facebook ad and it was let's say a free bottle of wine. I'm not sure if that can be used right now, but if it was a free bottle of wine campaign, or it could be a special dessert, we're doing some particular type of dessert, customers would go and redeem that at the restaurant. So let's say, Joe's restaurant, they've got this wine special. So then when a customer says, I've seen you on Facebook, they've got this wine special, the waitress or waiter would just put in a reference code. And then that transaction then comes back into the Maralytics system and can be seen in real time. So it can be seen straight away. So then the manager can go and have a look at, or the restaurant owner can have a look at the end of the day and see how many sales came in from that campaign. And they go, right, we had 15 customers that came in and we made, $2,500 at an average sale of this. So we can see exactly on, during the day, at the end of the day, at the end of the week, at the end of the month.
And you can aggregate all your campaigns in there. Like if you're doing some on Facebook, on Uber Eats or email, whatever, you can put them all in there and aggregate them.
Yeah. So you can either track it at the actual point of sale with the integration, or you can upload some information. So if you've got your Uber Eats, which, that's really hard and it's a very fast process because it comes in through, I think, a separate tablet process, you would just, use the statement and just put that information manually in and take a minute or 2 minutes to go, yep, I had this many sales for the month and this many customers, and you could see that information in the dashboard.
Very cool. And I also know that you're writing a book. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah. So, during this time of the last, COVID, I got to write a book, and this book is called Boost Your Marketing ROI. So it's available from September, and we are taking pre-orders. And it's a systematic approach to marketing. So it helps businesses really get their head around what is marketing? What do I need to do? So we look at, in the beginning is planning. That's a really important part of marketing, is planning what activities we do. And we've got a couple of chapters and a lot of details about planning, benchmarking, action plans. We then go into ideas. So the next section of the book is about ideas, digital marketing, traditional marketing, doing YouTubes, doing Google Analytics, not Google, Google Ads, all sorts of ideas.
Very cool.
Then we look at implementation. So implementation is going, well, how am I going to automate things? Do I use Your Social Chef? Do I use Sendable as a platform, or an email marketing, MailChimp, an ActiveCampaign, using platforms and having ways to make sure that, am I making the right decisions? How is everything going to actually sit in there? It's not just an idea anymore. I've got to make it happen. Next section is about identifying, and this is where my software and what you do, Mark, as well, is we really look at the results. We identify what is going on. And again, 3 chapters, a lot of different areas about identifying what marketing activities do we look at, well, where is it going? And then the final section is about innovation, going, okay, we've got our historical reporting, we've tracked all the results. How can we make these things better? Is a buy one, get one free better than a 20% off? Can we use AI? Can we look at, what innovation techniques can we use to improve our marketing? So it's really about, and there's lots of stories in there too. So I explain about a strategy, and then I use a personal story to go, well, this is how that strategy actually matches in real life. So, what I did in my restaurant, what I did in training, what I've done developing software. So it becomes a relatable concept then. It's not just, oh, look, I'm explaining that branding is all this stuff, but, I can go, well, I have this logo going across all different platforms.
Cool. And people can pre-order that book.
Yes, they can. Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
We will let people know shortly how to get in touch with you and everything. But before we wrap this up, what do you think is the future in hospitality technology?
Look, I see a lot of changes in technology. We really started to see some of that coming out with COVID. When COVID first started last year, we had all these check-in apps and the AI, the AI menus. So Bopple came, I know Bopple, I follow a lot, Hungry, Mr. Yum. These were all platforms that were just sort of simmering in the background. And then as soon as COVID hit, they went boom and just, exploded in those first couple of months of COVID. So a lot more automation inside, we've got, even having myself with the Maralytics, with the software of tracking, there's so much more that we can develop on top of a point of sale. So a point of sale, their business is a point of sale, but having that integration or platforms that can match and make things better, having automated inventory. I remember stock takes were an absolute nightmare when I had a restaurant. It was like, we hated doing them, but you need to do them for taxation and just wastage and finding out what's going on. So seeing a lot more development in problems that are getting solved. My software is a problem that I had that, just tracking the results of marketing. That's why I developed the software. And we'll start to see a lot more of those problems that we see as an everyday becoming a technology advancement. There'll be an app for something, so there's going to be a lot more of that. I think there's going to be a lot more community connection as well, or that's something I would like to see a lot more of. Back 20 years ago, we had restaurant and catering. We had a lot of associations, and that's been missing for the last 5 or 10 years. So I went to a reunion a couple of days last week for restaurant and catering, and it's like we had a lot more community with hospitality, and that's something that I'm hoping after COVID would really start to come back. That, I think with the National Restaurant Conference that was going to happen in August, I think it's been postponed to February. It's something we need to keep together as a community. It's the lifeblood of people, of connection. We connect over food. We connect over, family, everybody, when we do something, it's generally over food. If we have a celebration, we have a barbecue or go out to a restaurant, if it's somebody's special birthday, we go out somewhere. If it's a party, we do something, that's how we connect with people, is with food. And so, yeah, I see a lot of changes of more community engagement in the industry, I think.
Very cool. And Miriam, if someone wants to get access to your software today, what's
Yeah.
the steps they need to take right now?
So right now it would be just going to the website, which is maralytics.com. I'm sure you'll have some links in this video thing as well. But yeah, so maralytics.com, and there's a free sign up. So there's a sign up link. It's all over the website. You won't miss it. So there's plenty of them there. But you just sign up and you get a free month's trial. And with that free month, you can do anything you want with the platform. You can try it out, test it out. We do have a lot of support emails that come out with your free trial. It will teach you how, they've got videos linked to it and will teach you how to use the platform. Got a lot of supporting templates as well that will, help you if you want to do things manually, free ebooks that will give you ideas, and that will all come out with the free trial as well.
And if someone has any questions, how do people get in touch with you?
So they can just go on the website. There's a contact us, and they can just, send me an email, and I'm more than happy to have a conversation, help whatever way I can, or even just want to have a chat. So I love being around the hospitality community, and it's always good to hear what people are up for.
Brilliant. Well, guys, if you want to check out Miriam software, the marketing tracking software, go to maralytics.com. And Miriam, thank you so much for your time today. Until the next show.